My name's Terry Prall. This is a layout of the Alamo on the morning of March 6th, 1836. What we're looking at here is the north wall where most of the Mexican troops made their assault with the little guy laying there with the sword is Travis, the commander. He was one of the first to go. The battle lasted about 90 minutes. I used as many maps and diagrams as I could find to put this thing together as accurately as possible. A few liberties. I've got the Mexican flag and some of the red flags up a little close since I think the red flag was about a half a mile away.
You've got to bring stuff in a little bit, but that works as well.
Bring it in, yeah, it works.
Also, one thing that catches your eye when you look at this is just the number of minifigs. So do you know how many are in the whole build?
I'm guessing around 1,500.
Okay.
Whatever comes up short of the full amount, I just tell people they're already inside the building.
So with the minifig design, I see a lot of different kind of designs you used here. Or did you try to make those accurate to the different troops represented at the battle?
Basically, I used what was available and kind of broke them up into, different companies or whatever, and that it looked like they would work with the drawings and pictures that I've seen of the Mexican army, and trying not to stick with the ones in the movies. But
one thing I really like here is even the way you did the artillery back here, like this artillery cart even that has the little cannonballs on it. And then what's this over here?
That is taking a lot of historical liberty. That is the rocket launcher that they used to explode over the mission in the early morning hours so they could see what they were doing getting in. Since this did basically take place before dawn. So everything was in the dark, which had to be fun for the guys on the inside.
As if it wasn't bad enough that there were all these people attacking them.
Yeah, they're outnumbered about 20 to 1.
So as we move through the build then, beyond this section, what do we have next?
Okay, what we've got here is, I got to get my directions set, the west wall. And this little building here would be Travis's headquarters. When the alarm was sounded, he took off, headed for the north wall, and was one of the first ones killed. And then just continued down, tripping over the tape. The other force that did not attack from the north wall came in on this corner and made their move in. Probably more of the defenders would have been closer to taking refuge in the long barracks on the other side, but I wanted to, keep a little action in there for interest's sake. And then the building about halfway down there with the Mexican soldiers with the bayonets, that's Bowie's, where he was at the end. And then continuing along the south wall here, you get the churchyard in front of the mission. And if you can see the little coonskin cap in the middle there, that is Crockett.
Yeah, it looks like he's surrounded by like a whole circle of troops out front.
Yeah, from the survivor accounts, they said that, he was laying there with several of the Mexican soldiers around him. So I'm sticking with that story rather than the more current surrender and execution story.
What's some more of the action that we have happening out in the main section here? What's all going on?
It's just the troops have scaled the north wall, moving in. We've got some of the troops headed over to the long barracks where most of the action took place, hand-to-hand fighting inside the buildings. And then the troops that came over the southwest wall, were the primary group, plus a blend of other troops that attacked the mission, and the last stand was up at the top.
So we can move around then to the corner, and we'll take a closer look at all of that. As we do, you got some research here?
I've got some pictures. This is just a close-up of Travis, the Mrs. Dickinson, and the Esparza family, who were among the survivors that were located by the Mexican army after the battle was over. Aerial view of Crockett here, and I did take a picture of Bowie inside the building just for the sake of giving him a little visual. Couple of pages on the background and the siege and what happened afterwards, when Crockett arrived and when Travis and Bowie took over, and then mentioning that the independence was declared on March 2nd, although these guys did know about it. And Fannon's force was massacred on the 27th of March. And then Sam Houston engaged Santa Anna in April. And Texas became a republic basically after that. This is one of the diagrams that I used to help build this. And this is a picture of what they figure it looked like in 1836.
Great, yeah, it's great to see some of the behind-the-scenes research, and that kind of takes us around the closer view of the main building.
This is where I think Bonham, Esparza, and a few others, some of the kids have figured that's Davy Crockett, but, made the last stand. The survivors, the women and servants were in these buildings along here. The infantry came up from the east to cut down anybody trying to get out, which 30 or 40 guys did try to do that, so they got taken out by the infantry. And this is the horse corral and the cattle pen. And the little building in the middle, I had always wondered about that, is the latrine. And that takes us pretty much back around here to the north wall where the assault was made. Santa Anna and his officers on horseback here. The buglers playing the deguello, which was the Mexican no survivors song, and that is pretty much it.
So there's a lot to take in here when you look at this build. As you tackled this, how did you decide on kind of what scale to go for, and how did it end up being this big?
Well, I started out with the mission, and then I figured the other buildings, I'm going to try my best to do one plate, because the mission itself crosses 2 or 3 plates, so which makes it a little tricky on dismantling. But the rest of the buildings are pretty much one plate each, and I just went, there were, the hospital building and then the corrals. I just, counted off the buildings, and that's how many plates I went to. And then the same thing going across and back the other side. I just went with the number of buildings that were shown in the diagrams and pictures, and that gave me what is supposed to be roughly 3 acres.
What's the reaction from the public here when they see this? Do you find a lot of people are familiar with the Alamo story, or do you use this as kind of an opportunity to educate people about what happened?
A little bit of both. I've been surprised at the number of people that said, oh, the Alamo. And, the biggest reaction, I think, from a lot of the younger people is how many minifigures are in there.
So there's something for everybody with the build.
Yeah. There was one kid yesterday, I'm pretty sure probably college age, that would. He kept coming back and asking more questions. He was really into it. That yeah, I've been very pleased with the reaction to it. I think mostly people were amazed at the size of the layout and the detail.
Yeah. The great thing about building this big is it gives you an opportunity then to include so many minifigs and so many details and really point out kind of different sections of the battle.
Yeah. And one thing that really kind of surprised me when I was on the outside kind of looking at the mission, I'm thinking, holy cow, those guys had to be terrified, with just all the minifigs pushing in there, That, overall, I'm pleased with the build, and I've been very pleased with the reaction to it.
This is some excellent work here. I always love seeing the historical builds laid out like this, especially when you can put so much into it. So do you plan to expand on this build at all in the future, or maybe go in a different direction with other historical battles?
Yeah, I might, since I've got the minifigs for it, probably do a Revolutionary War battle in the future. Not sure which one. I may do some tinkering with this. If anything, it would be the angle that the cavalry's coming in. The rest of the layout, I think, pretty well set.
Yeah.
And
well, there you go. Great work. Thank you so much for bringing this all out to the show.
thank you very much.